Recording in progress. Yes, that's an echo. Erev Tov, everyone. In the encounter that the Torah describes this week between Yaakov and Esau, Yaakov gives Esau an enormous gift of wealth. The Torah outlines it for us in great detail. How many animals he gave him, how many servants, how many maidservants, etc. It's an enormous gift. Esau originally says, listen, I'm a wealthy man. I don't need your gifts. You keep it. And Esau says a word, Yeshli Rov. I have a lot. I have a big portfolio. I have a lot. But Yaakov presses it. And when Esau attempts to reciprocate, so Yaakov says to him, Yeshli Kol, I have everything. But there's nothing you can give me. And Esau at the end takes the gift, and Yaakov does not. And they part. So all the Meforshim point out the difference between Yeshli Rov and Yeshli Kol. I have a lot, but there's more than I could have. Yeshli Kol, I have everything, so then what can you give me? It's impossible that I should be missing anything. So it's a difference in attitude, which defines Esau and Yaakov. We saw earlier in their relationship that when Esau is hungry, so then the only thing that counts is give me something to eat now. What do I need a b'chora for? Esau never sees consequences. Never sees in the long run what'll be here. Later on, he'll weep. He'll say to Yitzchak, Barcheni Gamoni Avi, give me also bracha. But when he was hungry, the bracha meant nothing to him. So eventually it comes back to haunt you. And we say in benching every day, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, Vakol Mikol Kol. Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov are from Kol. So Avram, if you have Kol, so then you can say to the king of Sdom, now, I wouldn't take a shoelace from you. Don't say Ani Shartius Avram, that I somehow contributed to the wealth of Avram. But that's only if you have in mind coal. Now, who has coal? Well, it depends how you measure. So Chazal said, Shiur, who is truly a wealthy person, someone that is satisfied with what he has. And yet the Gemara says the nature of human beings is just the opposite. Mishi Yeshlo Mona wrote some Messiah. He that has 100 wants to have 200. But that applies when you have 100 million also. No limits. So to achieve the level of coal is an enormous conquest over human nature. Because human nature is that I don't have everything. There's still something I don't have. And that's why the Torah, I think, put such an emphasis, included it in the Aseret Advorim, Lo Sachmod. Lo Sachmod is an assault on human nature. The Gemara says, V'einayim ro'os v'alev chomed. The eyes see it and the heart wants it. That's the secret of visual advertising, of putting items in the window, taking an ad in the newspaper. You see it, you want it, even though you may not need it, and it may not be of any value to you. But the nature of people is that they're chomed. So it's an exercise in life. Chazal say, for instance, that you're really not over on lo sachmod unless you absolutely take and steal the item. In other words, if you're over on lo signov, so then you're over also on lo sachmod. But lo sachmod is, so to speak, an impossible instruction. And the only countervening factor that a person can have is somehow to be satisfied. I wish there was a course, Satisfaction 101, that a person could take to be satisfied. Satisfied with his family, satisfied with his position, satisfied with wealth. The Gemara brings us extreme examples of satisfaction. Whenever the Gemara brings in an extreme example, it's meant to teach us about the less extreme examples. So the Gemara says that one of the great Tanoim, Rabbi Yossi, he had a Rebbetzin from Rebbetzin land. I mean, she was a real shrew. And she would publicly embarrass him. She would come in the middle of the shiur and insult him in front of the Talmidim. So the Gemara says that once she did an act publicly that was so disturbing that the Talmidim, his disciples, went to him and they said, Rebbe, divorce her, get rid of her. It's terrible. So he said, what do you mean? I have to be grateful to her. She megadelet says bonai. She raised my family. Matzileni mi yetzer hara. She gives me physical satisfaction. What do you mean divorce her? So that is the extreme example of sameach b'chelko. Because it's hard for us to imagine such a situation. But unless one aspires to be sameach b'chelko, then life is very difficult. Because there will always be things that one does not have. There will always be situations where one will be tempted. So one has to therefore be in constant training, so to speak, and constant vigilance to make certain that one is at least trying to be sameach b'chelko. Chazal always said to look at the glass as half full, not as half empty. Frustrations in life are enormous. And why should Yaakov have to give anything to Esau? Esau wanted to kill him. He sent Eliphaz and he robbed him 20 years earlier. Left him penniless. And now he's giving him gifts. And exorbitant gifts. Enormous gifts. But that's part of Yaakov Avinu's attitude of Bakol Mikol Kol. And Esav is Nebach Eshli Rov. That's a pit that can never be filled. Can never be satiated. And Yaakov is Yeshli Kol. Doesn't expect anything. He's grateful for what he has. So the great sayers of Israel, when they looked at this, they said that part of the problem is that when it comes to spirit, we say, Yeshli Kol. It's enough. When it comes to Gashmias, then we say only Yeshli Rov. And it should be just the opposite. When it comes to Gashmias, a person should say Yeshli Kol. I have enough. I can exist. Remember when my two youngest grandchildren, who are themselves already married and have families, etc. So one was 4 and one was 3, and the one that was 3 had a toy that the 4-year-old wanted. So the 4-year-old said to him, "Give me the toy and I'll give you a penny." And the 3-year-old said, "I already have a penny." So that's naive, right? But that's Yeshli Kol. To fall into the trap of Yeshli Rov, that's the problem with Esav. Esav is the most dissatisfied figure in all of Chumash and Tanakh, the source of his bitterness, because he always feels that somehow he should have more, that he was cheated, that he's got to have more. And that brings to violence and to evil as well. Rabbi Hanania ben Akash Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael L'Chidcha Chibur Lahem Torah Mitzvos Shem Ha'adonai Chavei Man Sitko Yabil Torah B'Yad.